Hi, and welcome to the Dingers Podcast, episode 56. This is your host, Mitch. I'm here with my boys, Jeff and Kevin. How are you guys tonight?
Not bad. How are you guys? You guys have a nice holiday weekend?
Yeah, it's been going well. It got a little crazy there for a little bit because we went to the Iowa State game to early celebrate the middle son's birthday. A couple years in a row now, we try to do events instead of stuff for birthdays and Christmas, so took him to the Iowa State game.
Boo!
Yeah,
So,
this is when it's not a Cubs podcast, it's a Hawkeye podcast. So get the Iowa State crap out of there.
yeah,
I
would agree.
It is a Hawkeye State, Kevin.
Yeah. Kind of before we get there, I had to wear the right colors was the only thing, and I have no Iowa State gear, so I wore the Toppling Goliath shirt, and I had a black undershirt on, and it may or may not have had a Hawkeye logo on it.
There you go.
Nice.
Well, this episode is sponsored by Toppling Goliath Beer. Have you guys had their new? I just was back in Northeast Iowa and had their new seltzer. Now, I'm not a big seltzer guy at all. Like, I think White Claws are kind of too much hype and they're not very good. It's like, if I want water, I'm just going to drink water. But these are actually pretty decent. So if you like seltzers, and seltzers are your jam, Toppling Goliath, they have a strawberry, they have a pineapple, and they have a watermelon. I've tried all three. I like the strawberry the most, and that's what I'm having tonight. Strawberry seltzer, Toppling Goliath. So
Nice. I was out at a local establishment today, and I had heard about this beer from Toppling Goliath, their Project Hopfish, but I'd never seen it like where I could get it. So I was able to get one, and then I had two because it tasted so good. But Project Hopfish is kind of a special beer. The Toppling Goliath is collaborating with Lua and Big Grove Brewing Company to create this beer, and with each batch, all three breweries will donate time or funds towards cleaning up and protecting one of Iowa's most important resources, our water. Which, I mean, I enjoy the water that comes flavored as beer beverages. So I'm glad that they are taking the time and the effort to clean up the water so that we can enjoy more beer beverages.
doing their part.
So are they filtering the fish piss out of it? And what's happening there?
Well, do you really want to go into how our water is cleaned, Jeff? 'Cause it's an interesting process.
That's a different podcast altogether.
Yep.
Not this one. This one's focused on the Chicago Cubs, and we're presented to you by ChiCitySports.com. If you're interested in all things Chicago sports, this is your place. Go check out all the forums, the merch, the podcasts. Football season's just around the corner. We got a great Bears podcast. I know you guys want to hear all about Justin Fields every single day. So there you go. Go check out the Chicago Bears podcast on ChiCitySports.com. Well, I think this week might be the first week in a while we're actually going to talk current Chicago Cubs team. Because, baby, we're hot. We're hot. 7-0. We're undefeated in the month of September. We can't be beat. We're going undefeated the rest of the year. How are you guys feeling?
Are we mathematically eliminated? I don't remember or not.
Well, we're 20 games back. We're 13 back in the wild card for the second spot. So
13?
There's still a chance.
There's a chance.
There's still a chance.
We went out and people lose like crazy. We can sneak into a play-in game.
All right, well, let's look at the tank watch, which I don't even know if we can call it tank watch anymore because we're not tanking anymore because we're going undefeated in the month of September. So here we currently are at. I think last week we were sitting in 6th.
Yep.
Last week we were in 6th. We were a pretty good pick for the draft, but now we have went on a hot streak and won 7 in a row, and now we're at the 10th spot, which, Kevin, I think you called like 2 weeks ago that by the end of this, we're going to drop below the Mets pick.
Yep.
There that they get because of
winning
and signing somebody. So, man, I really don't want out of the top 10. But
no, I totally agree. I want us to stay in there, but I mean, if we keep winning, we're going to keep winning. And it's kind of hard to like, hey, quit hitting home runs, guys. Quit. And we were watching the game the other day, and I can't remember who was pitching, but somebody gave up a dinger right away when I turned it on. My wife was like, well, the
Keegan
pitchers
Thompson?
are doing their part. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's what it was. Pitchers are doing their part. Like, whoops.
Yeah, I mean, I really wanted a top 5 pick. I thought, hey, we could get in there and get a 5 pick, beat out Miami, which Washington, they committed. They said we were going to sell and we're going to commit to getting a top 5 pick, and look what they did. They're in the top 5. We, on the other hand, figured some stuff out. We can't make up our minds. Well, let's talk a little bit about this stretch that we've been going on. If we look back to the game, the 31st is when this streak started. July 31st, up in Minnesota. Now you look, we've been playing Minnesota. We've been playing the Pirates. And then we have today's game against the Reds. So we haven't been playing like top quality baseball opponents, but we're the team against the teams that we're playing against. And I mean, it started, I think, pitching has been there, especially our bullpen. Our bullpen has been lights out. When we think back at the start of the season, when we had Kimbrel, we had Chafin, we had Tepera, we had all these guys that like were locked in low in the bullpen. And now we look at this, I think right now in the last 7 games, we have a .60 ERA from our bullpen. And that's with Thompson going with a short outing the other day.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just like, man, I was just going to start with the bullpen. What are you guys thinking of how our bullpen's shaping up? I like Cody Hoyer. What are you guys' thoughts?
We have a lot to look forward to next season if these guys are all, locked up for at least another year. I mean, there's a bright spot to not have to worry about during the off season. It'd be our bullpen right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Alzolay coming out of the bullpen has looked good. And what is it? Wick.
Yep.
Just came off the IL.
Rowan Wick.
Yeah. I watched him the other night, and I think he pitched more than 1 inning, but his first inning, he looked fantastic. And then I think in the second inning, it kind of went a little long. I think he had a couple of walks or something like that. But, like, he's a big dude, and then his ball looked good. Had a lot of life to it. It was fun to watch.
Yeah, Gil just chimed in. Who would have thought 7 wins in a row? Yeah.
Right.
After the trade deadline, nobody would have thought that.
No.
Yeah. But Wick did pitch really well. He pitched, I think he got the save on, I'm blurring my days together. I think Saturday. Right. Pitched really, really well. Just had a lights out curveball and fastball that just froze some guys. He's just been dealing. And the one that kind of sticks out to me, and I brought him up earlier, was Cody Hoyer. Got him in the Kimbrel trade, and he's been nothing but just. And I think Ross and I think they're putting him in the high leverage situations. I think even today, as soon as Steele got in trouble a little bit and the bases got loaded, who'd they bring in? They wanted to bring in Hoyer to kind of get him out of the jam. Like I like what they're doing. I like that we got. I think we won the Kimbrel trade because the White Sox don't know how to use Kimbrel, and we got Hoyer. I think he's going to be a big part of this bullpen going forward.
Yeah, and I think Scotty Efros came up, and he had a little bit of trouble, I think, in that first outing. And then the last 2 outings, he's done really well. He pitched 2 innings against Pittsburgh on the second, looked good, and then had 4 strikeouts in the 2 innings. And then, oh gosh, I'm getting my days mixed up too. What was that, Saturday? Efros came in, and he pitched 1 inning, looked good, gave up 1 hit, but had a strikeout. He's another guy who... looking good so far. Keep him rolling. Keep throwing him in there to the Wolves and see what happens.
Well, you think about this. Who got the win today? Scotty Efros. Who got the win the other day when he came in and pitched 1 inning? Scotty Efros. He's picking up those scrap wins. You gotta love that out of our bullpen. Well, let's move our focus to the offense, and we can just say Schwindel. Like, what he is doing right now is amazing. And like, I know on Twitter, people are like, he's not a real player. He's like a MVP baseball 2005 creative player. And I'm like, I'm going way back. If you guys remember, it wasn't RBI baseball, but for the Nintendo, what was it? I blanked in on the name. There was a baseball game for the Nintendo where it was the first game where you could actually create your own player. Baseball Stars. That's what it was. Baseball Stars. And he was like, he's like the guy that you create in Baseball Stars that has like full stats on everything. And you have to like pay him more as they do well. But you get like one guy that you can like boost up right away. You get so many points to boost up. He's the guy you boost up right away. And he's just been killing it. You gotta love it. He has a higher WAR than Anthony Rizzo right now. And only 30 games.
Right. Isn't that nuts?
That's insane.
I mean, I don't want to knock former players in what they've done because they were amazing, but that's impressive.
It is. Now, I mean, after the trade deadline, you could have peeled the names and numbers off the backs of these jerseys and put Bo Peep's Gentlemen's Club. But, I mean, it took them a little while to put some stuff together and figure out where people fit into the lineup and the batting rotation, and these boys are on fuego. That's Spanish for on fire.
I just love what did he do the other day after he hit the grand slam? He came down into the batters or into the dugout, turned to the camera and locked and loaded his arm and shot it like a tank. And I was just like, yes, I am here for all of that. After the other day, he like turned suddenly went like into the camera, like all this stuff. I'm loving it.
Oh, yeah.
And Duffy even coming around the bases with his 2 thumbs up, like that he does. Like, oh,
I feel like this is a bunch of like, it's like She's All That, like all the 90s movies where it's like they're the nerds to start out with and then they become beautiful by the end of the movie. That's what we're going through. We're experiencing all 90s like movies where the Cubs were the ugly girl after the trade deadline. And now look at, we're pretty again. Like,
right. That's what I was explaining to somebody. Was asking me at the tailgate at Iowa State, was asking me like, where did Wisdom come from? I was like, well, he was stuck in the minors behind like Matt Carpenter or something with St. Louis. Like he was stuck. That's why he's so old being a rookie. And it's like he had nowhere, he couldn't go anymore. That's where it go higher into the system anymore. It was like, then he ended up with the Cubs, and well, we had our trade deadline shenanigans and whatnot before that even. And Wisdom's getting a chance to play. And that's what I think a lot of these guys we're all in similar positions. That's why we have 29 and 30-year-old rookies.
Yeah, this is a pretty crazy stat. Frank Schwindel is the first MLB player with a go-ahead RBI in the 6th inning or later in 4 straight games in the last 40 years. He's the first player to do it after the 6th inning in 4 straight games. That's
nuts.
In the stats that don't matter that are there. It's one of those like crazy baseball stats, but it's
like some stat that like a radio broadcaster would read off during like some awkward downtime with nothing going on.
Well, like just like let's go back and go through all these. So Wednesday, he hit the decisive 3-run home run to put the Cubs up. Then on Friday, he had a go-ahead home run in the 6th to put the Cubs up 6-5, which they won against Pittsburgh. He hit the walk-off single, which he beat out and slid into first base on Saturday, which was amazing.
Head first. Always shudder a little bit watching, but it's like, okay, he made it. He's safe. He's not hurt.
Yesterday, hit a go-ahead grand slam, and then today hit RBI single to put the Cubs up. Like, you can't write this any better than what he is doing.
No.
Yeah. He's totally like me watching my kid play. I don't even remember what the name of the video game he has right now. The current MLB the show. Yeah. And he's playing that, and he's pulling that stuff off left and right. And it's like, yep. And he's like, yeah, you just got to make sure you line up these 2 things and hit the button at the right time. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty much what's going through Schwindel's head at the same time too. Hit A now. Like,
yeah. And like, you look at his swing, like his swing, they hit that grand slam off. That pitch was low, and he didn't even swing hard. He barely even I was like, how in the heck?
He didn't even believe it went out.
Reaching, and it was low, like he was just slapping it.
I think he totally thought it was a pop out, and then when it went into the basket, he was like,
"What?"
I don't know what to make of Schwindel and who he is as a baseball player. I can't wrap my head around who he is. And if you look at a little bit of like if you look on Fangraphs in his stats just this year, like Kevin, do you have that pulled up of what his stats are currently this year? With
the Cubs or over with the Cubs. Yeah, so he's got 129 plate appearances. That was kind of the nuts thing about his stats originally, where it was such a small sample size. But now he's at 100 plate appearances, and then we keep going. He's batting .370 right now. His OPS is 1.124. In let's see, in the 129 plate appearances, he's got. It's hard to read this. 10 home runs, 29 RBIs. 10 walks, 44 hits. I don't know. That's where you start putting everything together. But it's just his numbers are nuts.
Yep.
He's our Hatteberg with some pop.
He is.
Hatteberg.
The thing that, like, you look back at his career, and that's what I've okay, is this just a fluke? Is it a fluke 30 games? You see this all the time. We've seen it with different Cubs baseball players that pop up and then fade into non-existence. Is this going to be somebody? And we've said it. Hey, he should get a shot next year, especially with DH coming. He should get a shot in next year's lineup. But then when you take a look at him as his career, and you take a look at his time with Kansas City in their system, and with Detroit in their system, and with even in AAA. And you go back to, let's look at his 2018 year AAA. He played in 134 games. He had 93 RBIs, 24 home runs. He had a slugging percentage of .506, an OBP of 336, and he had a .286 average.
I'd take that any day.
Yeah.
You go back to 2016, 120 games. He had 20 home runs, 68 RBIs. He had slugging percentage of .446. Like, this is just who he is at every level. His K percentage, his strikeout rate is usually around like the 15%, and his baseball is usually really low at 3%. But he's a guy that just puts the ball in play. He doesn't strike out. He doesn't walk. He puts the ball in play. And he hits for a decent average. And he's a good RBI guy across his stats from minor league. So I think this is just who he is. What we're seeing is what Frankie is. And he, like, I keep on thinking of the Friends episode. And I think I even tweeted this out of Frank Schwindel's face on Ross. And it says, Frankie says, relax. If anybody can remember the Friends episode, a tight white shirt. Like, that's what he's telling everybody. Cubs fans, relax. I got this. Like, this is who I am. Just believe in me. I look kind of goofy, and I am kind of goofy, but I can rake.
Right. Yeah, he has been so much fun to watch. Sorry, Jeff, I think I popped in front of you.
No, go ahead, dude.
Oh,
that's fine.
Yeah, he has been so much fun to watch. And yeah, I'm looking at his stats in the minors, and there's no year that looks like atrocious or anything. And in fact, the year he transitioned from AA to AAA, his average was .329, and it just seems to be that's who he is. That's who he is as a hitter. And you know what? You love to see it. And I really hope. I don't know. I was on the fence a year or two ago before we had the DH in the both leagues last year on whether or not I wanted to see DH. And honestly, if it gets another bat like his in the lineup every day, I would love to see it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah,
this is just,
I would like to
it's
see
fun.
just for the simple fact, because I hate it when there's 2 outs, there's runners in scoring position, and the pitcher's coming to the plate.
Right, in the third or something.
Yeah. I'm like, it's too early to pull him.
Nobody's buying a ticket to watch a pitcher hit. They're buying a ticket to watch him pitch and to watch hitters who actually practice the skill of hitting. They want somebody
That's what's nuts about what Shohei or Showtime playing in the American League, right? Because it's like he would be the perfect National League pitcher, but he's in the American League and they're still it. Yep.
It's like somebody tweeted about him about it. He's like playing Little League right now, where he pitched 6 scoreless and then he's going out to play right field. So
keep his
Yep.
bat in the lineup.
I heard that him and Schwindel are getting called up next week
Yeah, to 5A ball.
to 5A ball. They're doing so well. They're getting called up to 5A ball. Besides Schwindel, you saw Duffy the other day have his 2 home run day. Wisdom has kind of been struggling a little bit, especially today. Him and Alcantara struggled. I think they were 0 for 5 today combined. Haven't seen too big. I think it's one of those with Wisdom. He's kind of goes on this little bit of a roller coaster. Pitchers adjust to him. He's gonna have to keep making adjustments, but he plays a great third base. He's been picking it over there. Ortega, when there's not a lefty on the mound, Ortega is legit. So this is just turning out to be it's kind of weird because like after the trade deadline, it was really hard for me to emotionally get invested in this team. Like I watched this, but it was almost like begrudgingly, like, yeah, I'm still a Cubs fan. I got to do this. I ain't leaving. But now it's like, oh, this is fun. And it even started being fun even before the winning streak. I don't want to be like, hey, I'm just riding the roller coaster and loving these guys because we're winning. No, like I go back to
you can see flashes like when they were losing some close games and there was one or two that was really ugly loss, but you could see flashes of what was going to happen.
I go back to even like the Miami series, like back in like mid August. Like that was like, I remember that series, like, okay, I can see glimpses. I think the one game we lost like 10-14.
Right.
And
really
it's like
high scoring games.
And there was another game like that we lost. I think it was in Colorado, like that series. You saw some glimpses. And I know it's not like great teams, but like you saw where these guys how they could play. And I think even going forward, these next couple series, the rest of the games with the Reds and the games coming up with the Giants, we're gonna see Wisdom, how the guys hitting really good pitching. And that's gonna be what is gonna be telling the story a little bit for me going forward of what are my expectations for next year for these guys a little bit once they taste a little bit better pitching. I mean, today you saw the first taste with Sonny Gray on the mound and they lit him up. Hap had a good at bat. I mean, we talked a whole lot about Hap last week. Hap has been killing it this week or this year or lately.
He's up to 214 on his year, and he had such a bad year for so long. And he's up to
such
214.
a bad year.
How long
he's way above the Mendoza line,
right? And Hayward's just behind him at 213.
I know. That's what we're saying. I know, but where they started, like at the trade deadline, they were like one. Like they've made a lot of ground in the last couple of weeks because they've been putting the ball in play, and like there's pressure on them. They can just go out and play.
Don't you owe your daughter a couple bags of Skittles?
Oh yeah.
Oh man, she was watching when Hayward hit the home run yesterday, I think it was, and she's like Skittles in a triple today.
You need to get one of them satchels that Indiana Jones carried.
I'm just gonna get her one big, huge bag of Skittles, and that'll count it.
All right, here.
But yeah, I do want to give a shout out to my daughter. My daughter's name is Wrigley after Wrigley Field, and it is her birthday today. She turned 9, so we had a good old time for her birthday. Happy birthday to Riggs.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're not gonna go too long today. It was holiday weekend. I had fun back in Northeast Iowa, cut some wood, spent some time outside, driving some 4-wheelers around, spent time with family, and enjoyed watching some Cubs games and listening to some Cubs games. I listened to a lot of them on the radio, which I love listening to Pat Hughes on the radio and get some good calls on there.
Everything's a critical moment in the game.
Everything is.
Right.
Yep. It's a turning point. It's a turning point in the game. I do have to bring up that we are from Iowa. And this week is a big week in Iowa sports because we don't have teams. It's the Iowa State game this week. And I'm going to be cheering loud for my Hawkeyes. I know a listener and a follower on Twitter, Preston, he shouted remember this week. So go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Go
I think
Hawks.
they're a 4-point underdog right now, which is just not going to happen. So
We'll
Go
see what
Hawks,
happens. I
get
think
us
we-
a
I think
win
they got a really stingy defense
this week for it's Iowa State has a pretty good defense too, but they only scored 16 versus UNI. Come on.
Yeah,
16 points. You have one of the
wonder how much of that
best
is like.
running backs and best quarterbacks.
Right.
What they return? 20 players.
Yeah, it was something. It was pretty high. They were missing a couple people, but Charlie Kohler was on the bench as well. I'm not an Iowa State fan, but I happen to have to be there and watch the game. And
I'm
my
how much of this is they didn't open up the playbook because they didn't want to give Iowa a very good game tape.
right. Well, and Brees Hall, I think it was like the first 4 possessions, he touched the ball twice. And Keaton even turned to me after when they punted it the 4th time, was like, "Why are they not running the ball with Hall?" And he just straight look at me like, "What's
And
going on?"
Would you tell our listeners how old your son is?
Yeah, he's 9, folks.
And he's got it figured out.
Yep.
Oh, my thing is like, open up the playbook. What are you hiding? You brought
Right.
back everybody. We know what your offense is. Just like everybody in the nation knows what Iowa's going to do. We're going to play a pretty boring game and hopefully
Ground
win it.
and pound.
Like, it's nothing new.
Yep.
It's a Kirk Ferentz offense.
Goodson's
So,
going to get
I
25
don't know.
carries.
I mean, we are
and he's
starting to
gonna
throw the
run
ball
between
a
the
little
tackles.
more.
Yep.
So I don't. But big week this week. We got to be cheering on our Hawks. And on Saturday, I'm going to be hurting a little bit. I'm getting a vasectomy on Saturday to just lounge and do nothing the whole afternoon and watch the Iowa game. So
I don't know why you're going to the hospital for that. I got a rusty knife. And a heavy foot, whatever you prefer.
Oh my. Ridiculous.
simple VAS.
Wow,
That's where
Mitch.
I'm going. We're
Wow.
use a needle
Think
to like
are you gonna have like tuck anything or
you. It's like this. Yep.
Mitch? Most people get this done during the
So
NCAA
no more
conference.
NIMS
Watch
kids
the
running
first
around.
Knocking that off.
Well, it was either that or the Iowa State game. When do you want to plan it? I chose the Iowa State game to have an
You go
excuse
out.
not to go anywhere, not do anything, and just rest.
I hope you got a lot
So-
of frozen peas in the fridge. You can rotate them out.
They sent me actually a care package with an ice pack in it. I know. It was pretty nice of them. You want
Oh
me to keep
my.
going into what else they sent me? They
A razor.
like
Sent your razor?
a jock strap. Apparently,
You don't need the razor.
no,
because
I
you
told them
got-
I was sponsored by
you got all
Manscaped
that
at one time,
Manscaped
so I had.
stuff.
Yep.
Wow, this has gone south.
All right, we're way.
Yeah,
off
this is what happens
course.
when we
But
don't have
anyway,
a script, folks.
That does it for episode 56 of the Dingers podcast. Next week, we'll be undefeated in the month of September. So go Cubs, go Hawks, and that does it for
Rest
this
in
episode
peace,
of
Mrs.
the Dingers
Junk.
podcast.
Good night, John Boy.
Night, everybody. Enjoy some Toppling Goliath brews.
Good night. Or good morning if you're listening to this in the car ride on your Monday morning or Tuesday morning drive. Later. Go Cubs.
What day of the week is it?